If we've got red here with a pack of boats sitting up on top of her, and green establishes from clear astern, let's say she tacked into this position, she can't demand from red room that red can't give her. So they're going to get up here and green's going to be screaming at everybody, go up, go up, go up, and everybody's in this big pack and going slowly, and then when they get to the mark, green is going to be shut out and they're not going to have a shot. And that's similar to the rules that we had in the past. Tacking. Exact same game as we had before. Just different ways of saying it because the zone got bigger. So if red comes across and tacks, and green has to sail above close haul to get past her, red's wrong. If green goes to sail inside of her, red has to keep clear because she tacked in the zone. This is going to makes the old game that I've told you in the past, sail all the way out and turn, much more important so you stay out of the way because it's a much bigger area and a much more chance of sliding sideways into the leeward boat. When jibing, when the course would require for a boat to jibe, at either an offset mark or a leeward mark, even though this boat has right of way, she gets to the mark, she's overlapped, she has to jibe at her first reasonable opportunity to do so. And if it's an offset mark, she's jibing and going the other way, or jibing and then turning and going up course. But she can't push the other boat out. She has to jibe immediately. She can't drive the other boat down and then turn and come back up. We've got red and green coming in. Red turns up, green doesn't turn enough, green hits red. Red altered course. Under Rule 16, she can't alter, a right-of-way boat can't alter course to prevent another boat from keeping clear. Green is protesting red. Ah, but they're in the zone. And we get to 18.5, exoneration. This is where this triggers in. In that green, because they were in the zone, should have anticipated that red would need that room and failed to give her mark room. Even though red fouled green by making that turn, she's exonerated from the penalty. It's basically the same game we had before. As I said, it's just a different way to say it. This applies under exoneration to boats that are on opposite tacks, which normally happens at leeward marks. The same tack, as we saw here. Same tack, not overlapped, where this boat was supposed to get room and this boat then came up and tapped him. While tacking, so if two boats are coming in on the port way line, red is entitled to, once she gets to the mark, room to make a proper course rounding. Green has to stay out and give her enough room for her stern to swing while she tacks, since they both have to tack to get around this mark. The thing that's important to note, though, with all the exonerations is that you cannot be exonerated when there is contact between boats that causes damage. So, red's coming in, green's here, green's in close, red slams his transom around, chews up the side of green. Red can be held under Rule 14. Green may get tossed out, but red shouldn't have hit it. Pass an obstruction. We've got the end of a dock here. Two boats are sailing up to it. Green says, I need room. Green is the right-of-way boat. He's leeward. Whoever is the right-of-way boat determines how you're going around an obstruction. They get first crack at it. So if green says, I want to pinch up to get around it, red has to stay clear of it as they go around. If green decides she's going to go below the obstruction, she has to give room to red to pass below it with her as well. No game change. What does change is, as we said, there's no zone around the obstruction. When do you become at the obstruction? And that's from last week's collision, the debate that's going on between quite a number of judges. The general consensus so far is when you would have to make a significant alteration of course to avoid the obstruction. Here, any vessel that is underway cannot be a continuing obstruction. This could be a supertanker. It cannot be a continuing obstruction. Continuing obstruction turns off rules 10 and 11. 10 being opposite tacks, 11 being overlap. Under the old rules, if green just stuck her nose in there, she would be wrong and could be protested immediately. Under the current rules, green's wrong for going in there because there isn't a sufficient space between the shoreline and red for her to fit in. But so long as she keeps clear of red, and of course doesn't run around, she can stay there as long as she wants. Here's red sailing along a continuing obstruction. Green's coming out. Red says, I've got a continuing obstruction. Doesn't apply because you're both on a beat. And red's course is to go behind green, who now moves in and tacks. They have to clear because port starboard is still in effect.